Hey guys, I'm doing a video basically because I've been doing custom figures for a year, and I'm going to try to do kind of a special project with it. And if you look at my old videos, this one's the first one here. It's almost exactly 13 months ago by now. Kind of slacked a little on the 1 year thing, but we're getting there. So we'll start off with, we'll just call it a year at this point. But yeah, my first custom here was a Leslie Vernon, and here he is over here. Like I said, the first figure I did, custom figure I did, and obviously, as any project like that, it has a lot of problems with it. First of all, I picked the wrong body. I got one of the newer wrestling figures, and I got the non-deluxe one, so the articulation is pretty limited. It just has the turn up here, the knee, the foot, there's a swivel down here, which is ridiculous looking, the waist, ball jointed shoulder, swivel up here, bend at the elbow, rotate the wrist, and ball jointed head. So it's pretty limited compared to some of the stuff I've done more recently. Still not bad as for a base buddy, I guess. The problems came from a lot of other things. He's made entirely with Mighty Putty, which was, cheap and easily available, but you can't get a lot of detail in it, and plus I didn't really know how to sculpt detail. I mean, you can see his arm, very clearly the muscle of the figure with a thin coat of other stuff on it. There are some cuts in his clothing, but they're not very movie accurate. It's very thick putty around the cuts. My ability to get screen captures even wasn't as good. I honestly thought he had gloves and boots on, which now I know he had neither. The paint on it is enamel, which is what I used in the first couple of figures I had before I realized I should have gotten acrylic. So if you noticed, I was having a lot of trouble moving the joints. That's why this stuff's super sticky. And the scythe is pretty crappy. I didn't have the right tools to do it, and it looks really bad. The face itself is a mild repaint and slight resculpt of the original figure's head, so no real work on that. And the only part I really like about it is the mask, and that was done by Whitney, so I can't even lay claim to that. I think I did the hair on it, which is the part of the mask I like the least. So, all in all, it's a first work, and I mean that's why I still have this guy on display. That's why I haven't shaved down the body or anything, because I kind of like having the first piece I did. But I figured since we're a year later, I'm gonna do it all over again. So at one point I had planned to do another one of these, and I'd started it and then I lost interest in the project and moved on to something else. But this time I'm pretty motivated. I really do want this guy again. I think this is a good time to do it. So I just got back from the store and I picked up this base figure, which is what we're going to be turning into Leslie Vernon. As you can see, he stands a good amount taller, and he's a lot more articulated, though actually I plan on taking out a lot of the articulation. He has these goofy little joints here. Those are going to go. The ab crunch is going to go. And the waist articulation is going to go. But he's still going to have the ball jointed legs. I'm also going to take out one of the joints in the knee. He doesn't need double joints, so love that. And figure comes with bare feet already, so I'm all set for that. And the last little ingredient to this guy is this. This was a commission I'd started working on for somebody, and unlike normal, I started on it before I took payment, because I was excited about the project, and the person just decided that they didn't want the figure. So it sits in a semi-complete state. This is supposed to be a pre-Uber Jason from Jason X. But what I'm going to use it for are the hands. The bare hands. I swap them out with these gloved ones here. just so that it's a little less to sculpt. But I figured for a 1 year spectacular, or whatever you want to call it, I'm basically going to try to film as much of the actual process of this as I can, and kind of do it almost as a video journal, at least for a little while. We'll see how it actually pans out, and how fun it is to actually do this. It could just be boring as hell. But we're going to go with that. To start off with, at least. So, first we're going to start off by switching out these hands. So at this point we're kind of getting into the tutorial of all this stuff. And I gotta say, before I go too more into a tutorial type setup, and most of what I learned, if not everything I learned about how to do this, I got from watching One's Customs videos, or, you know, studying what he did. He had a couple tutorials up there that were incredible. Helped me out a lot when I was starting doing this, and then, you know, just watching a lot of his videos a lot of times, trying to catch any little hint of information I could. So, we gotta start off with saying that before I go any further. But yeah, first thing you want to do, which I already did, is take the figure and wash it, clean out any oils, use like soapy water and a brush or whatever, and try to get any oils out of the joints and stuff. That'll make it much easier when it comes time to paint these guys, because the oil can really mess up your paints and stuff, and sculpting, honestly. So he's all set with that, and we have a mug of water in the microwave, getting nice and warm, because that will let us loosen up these joints and pop them off. And for right now, for the beginning stages of all this, I'm going to pop off the hands and replace them. And I'm also going to pop off the head, so I can sculpt that separately. I feel like I'm doing a cooking show right now, but then again, if it was a cooking show, I'd have a preheated thing of boiling water in a hidden cabinet somewhere, so we could just go ahead and do this. Alright. As you can see, the water is hot as hell. Ouch. I'm going to take the guy and dunk him. And probably want about a minute. Alright. So this guy should be done. Pull him out. And we'll stick victim number 2. So now we can take his hands, since they're nice and warm, and those gloves will pop right out. And the head should come off pretty easily as well. There we go. We'll give the other guy a couple more seconds. Hand number 1. And hand number 2. Now, these hands do fit really well because these are both Jakks Pacific figures. So the parts are a lot more compatible. If you have one of the Mattel wrestling figures, you probably can't pull this off. If you actually look, these come off as the glove and the wrist. The Mattel figures come off just as the hand. So they're built a little different. And we'll put the gloves back on this guy just so he has some hands. Alright, so that's part 1. Now we gotta take him and Dremel off the excess body. So next what we're going to do is we're going to take our Dremel here. Any kind of rotary tool with a sanding disc will do just fine. And we're going to take it and we're going to sand down the parts of the figure we don't want. The downside to going outside to film this with the Dremel is that that's kind of the area of the building where my crazy downstairs neighbor likes to hang out. And just have to mention that she's totally insane, because she complained on me the other day for thumping around. She came up here and yelled at me for thumping on the floor at 7 in the morning when I was dead asleep. So this isn't a nice late incident either. So just for the record, this lady's off her freaking rocker. But we're going to go Dremel and send some plastic shavings down on her head. Sounds good. So now the body is all Dremeled down and skinny. You can see the flare of the pant leg is totally gone. The arms are nice and skinny. Almost all of the chest is gone. And the back is shaved down. Just an all-around skinnier figure now. That'll make it look more realistic when you build back clothing on top of it. I mean, granted, this guy was pretty much naked as the figure he was, but he's so muscle-bound you have to take out some of that stuff to accommodate. As you can see also, the head's mostly shaved down. I kind of cheated and left a couple features. I may end up cutting those off as well, depending on what I end up doing with the face sculpt, but sometimes it's nice to have a reference point going into it. So the next thing we're going to do, and the last thing for this video, is we're going to limit some of his articulation. Now the reason we want to do this is because, I mean, it is awesome that these guys can bend into so many different poses. That's really outstanding. But we don't need that for a project like this. This motion, when I first saw that, I thought that was the coolest thing I'd seen on a figure in a long time. I mean, you can get the arms further across the body, but unless you were doing some kind of gimmick with a character that needed that extra range of motion, you know, for a special pose or something, it's really nothing you need. So what you want to do is get them both into a neutral position. Basically, get them as centered as possible. Looks about good. And then you just want to take some super glue. You don't have to put a whole lot. Just a little bit. I like to do front and back. Front and back's probably going to give you the best hold, because that way both sides are equally strongly connected. And the other part I want to get rid of is this mid-torso crunch. Once again, kind of nice if you need that articulation on a figure. Don't need it on this character. Particularly because of his clothing. Leslie Vernon wears overalls. Now, I'm not a person that wears overalls or anything, but I could kind of imagine that when your pants are connected to your shoulders, it's kind of hard to bend in that part of your body anyway. So I don't think it's going to be something you're going to be doing all that often. And likewise, with that, we're going to take out his waist articulation. This is something I had left in on my original figure, but I realized that it's kind of an unnecessary thing. First of all, if you turn this guy at all, you can see there's a giant shelf, a gap there. So that does you no good. And it's just not a move that character is really going to be posed in, I don't think. It allows you to make a much better looking sculpt, at least in my opinion, if you can keep it all one solid piece. And one more piece, we're going to take out the knee articulation, or half of the knee articulation. You can see it's a double jointed knee, but I'm going to secure these bottom pieces together. And my reasoning behind that is he has absolutely no reason to bend his legs like that. He doesn't need much more than the single joint of articulation. And the more joints that are immobilized, the better this figure is going to stand, the less gaps in the sculpt and paint there's going to be, and it's going to add to the overall look of the figure in general. And I honestly don't think you're sacrificing a whole lot to achieve that. So, we're going to let this dry, and I'll be back next time with some more work. I should get down into the sculpting of the figure. See you guys later.